Every RPG needs a muscle-bound brawler, and in Diablo 3 that role is more than filled by the Barbarian. He is the quintessential warrior, massive, fearless and shockingly powerful. The Barbarian is iconic. He is the only character class to return from Diablo 2, and he earned his place in the game almost against the wishes of the developers. They were not initially going to call the class the Barbarian, but changed their minds during development when they realised that their shirtless smashing brute was going to seem like a barbarian to the fans, so they might as well embrace it. Ironically, the returning character pendulum swung so far that at one point the male barbarian was the same hero from Diablo 2, literally the same person, the very individual who defeated Diablo and Baal, then saw the Archangel Tyrael shatter the World Stone. That event 20 years ago in game time led directly to the state of affairs that players will encounter in Diablo 3. While fans were intrigued by the plot implications of a returning character, the developers ran into storytelling issues, and they appear to have axed that plan, much like the Barbarian axing a demon. His backstory notwithstanding, the male barbarian is aged, and while still covered in bulging muscles, his beard is white, his body is scarred, and his face is weary with the toil of decades. As all Diablo 3's character classes come in both genders, there is a female barbarian as well. Her backstory is unknown, and she's much younger than the male. Diablo 3's genders differ only in looks, so the female barbarian is just as powerful as her counterpart. She too evolved during development, with the hard, plain face she wore in early game art replaced by a softer, more feminine visage. Her power was unaffected, but she's now able to charm her enemies with a smile, before she cuts them in two with a swipe of her axe. Character classes in Diablo 3 do not have set roles in the party. They can all deal massive damage, and are all capable of fighting effectively while solo or in a co-op party. That said, each class has roles they are more suited to, and as you might expect, Diablo 3's Barbarian enjoys being in the front lines. Call him a tank, call him a meat shield, but be sure you call him when you're in trouble, since he's happiest in the thick of battle. The Barbarian fuels his attacks with fury, a class resource that is generated both by taking and dealing damage. The exact function and user interface have changed repeatedly during development, but the basic concept of a resource that builds up during melee combat and is expended by using higher level skills has remained constant. Barbarians are not purely melee fighters, though that's what they do best. The class can use a wide variety of weapons, and they retain their Diablo 2 talent for dual-wielding most types of one-handed swords, spears and clubs. That said, barbarians do have some weapon limitations. They cannot equip spell-caster weapons such as wands or daggers. This might seem to limit the barbarian's playstyle, as some speciality builds in Diablo 2 used war cries to attack monsters directly. But don't worry, not with Diablo 3's wider variety of skills and the vastly broadening options provided by runestones. Most of the Diablo 3's barbarian skills are new, or at least greatly redesigned. A few old favourites return, including the melee mashers Bash and Cleave, his speed attack Frenzy, death from above via leap attack, and of course his signature skill, the spinning dreidel of death, Whirlwind. The Barbarian boasts numerous new skills as well. Ancient Spear allows him to skewer enemies at a distance, harpooning then yanking the insensate victim into melee range. Weapon Throw allows the Barbarian to hurl his melee weapon at enemies. And in one of the more inventive runestone effects, throw monster corpses instead. Furious Charge sends a barbarian barreling across the screen, allowing him to smash through and into enemies foolish enough to block his path. Call of the Ancients may be his most unusual skill, as it summons 3 ancient barbarians of legend from Diablo 2 to fight beside their kinsmen. What devilry might be wrought upon this skill by runestone effects is entirely unknown, but it's great fun to speculate about. The barbarian skills also include a wide variety of shouts. These echoing cries can be used to buff the barbarian, debuff or confuse enemies, or augment the abilities of the barbarian's party members. There are half a dozen different shouts, and the developers have promised that, when teamed with runestones, these shouts will provide a wide variety of offensive, defensive and buffing bonuses. On the whole, the Diablo 3 barbarian continues the murderous might of his predecessor, while adding much more variety in his skills and potential playstyles. He can brawl with the best, while adding as much finesse and strategy as your plump little sausage fingers can manage. Fear him or her, but know that your power will be envied throughout the land.
It is time for shedding our enemy's blood, not idle talk.